Welcome to the Daily Word for the Lent. Today's reading is from the second book of Kings, chapter 5, verses 1 to 15. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Now the Arameans on one of their raids had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel." He went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to give death or life, that this man said words to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Just look and see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" He turned and went away in a rage. But his servants approached and said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you have not done it? How much more when all he said to you was, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. His flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, he and all his company. He came and stood before him and said, "Now I know that there's no God in all the earth except in Israel. Please accept a present from your servant." This is the word of the Lord.
Inspirational words. Brothers and sisters, I am very happy to share with you the Holy Word here. I am sharing with you today the story of the healing of Naaman in chapter 5 of the book of 2 Kings in the Old Testament from the Bible. The book of Kings is a historical book that the Jews cannot forget. It is believed that many commentators who follow the Talmud, the source of Jewish religious law, think that the book was written by the prophet Jeremiah. It was reported that the original book, written in Masoretic texts, was in 1 volume. It was not until the compilation of the Septuagint that the book was divided into 2 volumes, the 3rd and 4th book of Kings, as in what we know as the book of 1st Kings and the book of 2nd Kings today. Briefly, the book recounts the revival of King David's empire, followed by the reign of kings of the northern kingdom, portraying the deeds done by prophets Elijah and Elisha, and describes the collapse of the northern kingdom, which led people from the kingdom of Judah into captivity in Babylon, and the temple being destroyed. This outline gives us a clearer picture of the background of writing. Now let us read the story as it unfolds. Naaman, who is the commander of the army of the king of Aram, is a Gentile. God is, nevertheless, pleased with him, and yet he contracts leprosy. As termed in today's reports about the coronavirus, it can be an infection with, quote, unknown sources. The climax of the story is how Naaman is healed. It is through a little girl who is a maid serving his wife. She tells Naaman's wife, "I hope the master can see the prophet of Samaria, who will definitely be able to heal the master's leprosy." Naaman then informs the king of Aram, stating that this suggestion is from the girl taken captive from Israel. Now the story takes a twist. The king of Aram presents the king of Israel with presents and money, and explains in a letter which moves the king of Israel to the point that he tears his clothes. When the prophet Elisha hears this scene, he sends someone to explain this to the king of Israel. As for Naaman, he himself visits Elisha's home and stands at the door. While Elisha sends his messenger to detail the treatment, which is to bathe in the Jordan River 7 times, Naaman, who is a chief commander, feels it is a disrespect that he is not received, and he is infuriated. His maid, however, manages to persuade him to immerse in the Jordan River 7 times, as advised by Elisha. At last his flesh fully recovers, restored like a child's one. He is finally cleansed and cured. Today is International Women's Day. It is the day to draw attention to the empowerment of women at all levels, enabling their voices to be heard and promoting gender relations of equality and mutual respect. Today's lectionary reading shows us the importance of this little girl who was taken captive by Arameans when they invaded Israel. She was courageous enough to ask the commander to meet the prophet in Samaria so that his leprosy could be cured. We can't take women lightly, as they all can contribute to the thriving of society and inspire new ways of thinking in today's world. At the end of the story, Naaman acknowledges his faith in God and gives thanks humbly. He says, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Please accept a present from your servant." After being healed, this Gentile, Aramean, is thankful with all his heart and willing to offer burnt offerings and peace offerings to the only God, Jehovah, throughout all his life. Some questions for reflection. If you were a sister, would you have the confidence that this little girl had to speak to others and to change people and things? And in your life and dealings, are you like Naaman the Gentile, or like the Israelites who rarely pay back to Jehovah after receiving grace? A prayer. Almighty and all-knowing God, you know the heart. You are willing to send people to speak frankly and without fear of the authority of the marshal. Those powerful people, because of your enlightenment, accept your reminders and obey you. Now, as we evangelize with actions, we hope to yield these results and give the glory to you. Amen.